So I get to the Olympic weightlifting portion of the workout, and automatically I start running through all the cascade of thoughts which I need to think about to make the thing happen, right? So I'm thinking about internal rotation of the shoulder. I'm thinking about all these different things so I can overhead squat, and then I can do a snatch balance. And then eventually I'm like, I really want to start snatching from the ground. So I'm thinking about all these different cues all crammed in my head. Obviously, I'm very new to the game. I'm very, very much an amateur, novice. I don't really know what's going on. And I'm thinking about all these thoughts. And it got to a point where I started snatching. You guys will see the footage eventually, but I started snatching and I'm like, man, this feels so freaking awkward. I'm thinking about pulling quickly and then also the hip contact and then also bending the elbows a little bit and then quickly ducking underneath. It was just so much going on, man. I don't have that proprioception. I don't have that body awareness, and then I look at the footage and I'm like, man, I look like an absolute beginner, which I am, or whatever. I've said this in the past, I've seen lots of professionals move with a barbell and it looks so good. And then you see yourself on camera, you're like, oh my Lord, it's embarrassing. Like I'm embarrassing in front of myself. Not that, I guess embarrassment is not the word to use. It's just kind of like the contrast is huge. And it's almost like, man, I can't believe I'm so far off. Obviously, it's going to be a long journey. Obviously, I'm not expecting to be doing anything special anytime soon. But you see the contrast. You're like, man, I got to do this, that. And then eventually, I ended up doing like 7 sets of 5 of snatches off the floor. So full snatches. Well, at least I was trying to do full snatches. They're very rough looking things, but I was doing full snatches. And the first few sets, I was like thinking. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, well, this is ridiculous. I can't do anything right. And then I thought, I'm not going to think about anything. All I'm going to think about is grabbing the bar and trying to pull as hard as I can and flick that thing overhead. That's it. No more cues. No more, I got to do this, that, like a whole freaking list of things I got to do to make it happen. It's like an instructional thing. If you have to think in the heat of the moment, you're probably going to be too slow. You can't be thinking about these things. It's kind of like, what do they say when they teach the piano? Like, you learn how to play the piano. When you become a master, forget everything you've ever learned and just play and just have fun out there. It's almost like that. I got to a point where I was like, okay, I don't know everything. I'm not a master, far from a master, but I'm just going to play. Just freaking play. The weight's not heavy that's going to hurt me or whatever. Let's just throw this thing overhead. And as I started doing that, I started feeling a little bit better. I was like, okay, I don't have to have hip contact. I don't have to do this. Just keep doing it. It's like shooting free throws. You go out there, you shoot free throws, you put 1,000 reps in. Through repetitions, you're going to start to get certain things ingrained, right? And they become kind of like second nature. And then you think about one thing, right? Okay, so this rep, I'm going to focus on ducking under sooner. Not, okay, this rep, I'm going to focus on hip contact, ducking under sooner, looking up, and also trying to stay as vertical as possible and having the weight on my heels. Too much, man. It is too much. Your brain can't think about that many things at once. Also today I thought to myself, you know what? I actually met somebody the other day in the gym who has a lot more experience than me in weightlifting. And, I was talking about snatching and picking his brains a little bit. And I said to him, what is the best way to snatch? Like, what is the best way to learn how to snatch? And he said, it's probably just a snatch, man. Just snatch. And I thought to myself, yeah, okay, I'm doing overhead pressing, I'm doing snatch balance. Obviously, I still think I needed to learn how to overhead squat, and I needed to learn how to get under the bar and feel like catching the bar in the snatch balance. I thought those were necessary steps. But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to warm up each day now. I'm going to try and do this every day. I know I say this all the time, and then I'll have work, and then, it's going to be a short session. I won't do it. But every day that I kind of go to the gym and I have a day off or I have time up my sleeve, I'm just going to snatch. Just freaking snatch. Enough of the overhead pressing, overhead squatting, enough of the snatch balancing and all this stuff. I'm just going to go for snatching. I'm just going to snatch every day. That's it. A number of you guys have also said the same thing to me. Yes, these exercises are great and they teach certain things and whatever, but you got to play the sport, man. You got to play the sport. It's kind of like that specificity that turns me on when it comes to squat every day. Now I can snatch every day. It's like, oh man, that is a beautiful thing. I want to do that. I actually really want to do that. I want to snatch. I didn't get excited about this stuff so I can do snatch balancing and overhead squatting and all that. I want to snatch. I want to clean and jerk, right? Not that I don't like overhead squatting or any of that. It's just I really like playing the sport. You know, I remember feeling so much more excited about going to a game day, you know, when I played basketball than training session. Because not only in training sessions, we're going to run drills. You know, we're going to do this, that, the other, and break the game down and teach certain aspects and, you know, iron out certain weaknesses as a team, as an individual and all that. But ultimately, we all want to just go and play. And so some of the good coaches that I had in my training career, in my basketball career, they would always have some sort of like a 20-minute or a 30-minute, you know, section at the end of the training session, like the last part, and we would just scrimmage, you know, skins and shirts, and let's go with two teams and just play. Or we'll drill some stuff at the start of the training session, and then we'll scrimmage, and we'll try and implement some of these changes that we practiced. You know, the coach would be like, Ivan, we're going to scrimmage, and this time I really want you to just drive left all the time. You focus on your left. Obviously, the other players wouldn't hear that, so I would really kind of work on that because it's a scrimmage. It's a training session. You can kind of work on your weaknesses. So playtime for me is always the best. And I'm kind of really excited that I've gotten to this point where I can just freaking do it. I can just freaking do it. And I think, honestly, I think that's the best part of it. You know, I love the idea of Olympic weightlifting every day. It excites me. Just like I played basketball every day. When I first started playing basketball, I didn't walk onto the court for the first time and start doing freaking 3-man weave and suicides or 2-on-1 or like running around cones, dribbling, you know, 1-2 dribble, jump shot, left, right, you know. Drills are fine, but game situations is what we all fall in love with in the first place. And so we shouldn't forget to do that. So I'm happy, you know, that I've, you know, come to this point of this. I don't even know how long it's been of this Olympic weightlifting kind of arc of my journey. I don't think it's been that long, but finally I'm kind of gone to a stage where I can snatch 40 kilos. Now 40 kilos is very lightweight, like, but now I feel confident that my shoulders are not going to freaking snap back. And that was the whole point of all of this. So here I am. I mean, today I came in, man, and my erectors are spent from yesterday, man. And I like it. I've said this in the past. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether you guys feel the same way. But man, I like having DOMs in my lower back. I don't know why. It's kind of like, it gives me the feeling of this muscle right here is like the most important muscle. And I say that every day about every single muscle in the body. I know. But the lower back is one of those muscles that, how should I say this? If you look at the injury statistics at the workplace, I think the lower back accounts for like 60% of all injuries or something crazy like that. You know, so it's a very, the lumbar spine is there's a very high incidence of injuries in that part of the body. And so when I have DOMs in that lower back, when I feel like the muscles are being worked, I'm like, I'm doing a really good thing for myself, not just as a lifter, but as a freaking human being, man, because everything is about lower back. Now, the lower back should not be flexing and extending, all of that stuff, but the lower back is, in a way, unprotected, right? It sits on an island by itself. Below it is the pelvis, above it is the rib cage. The lumbar spine is like on its own. At the front of it is just guts. On the back of it is no real protection other than the vertebra, right? And so it's a very loose part of the body. It's kind of weakness to our structure, kind of like the neck as well. I feel like the thoracic spine is kind of concreted in with these ribs, you know, much more stability and rigidity there. This is why we don't perhaps see as many injuries there, because there's so much more bony structure around, where the lower back is just it's like a lollipop, man. There's nothing around it. So when I get DOMs, when I get a pump, like when I'm doing 45 hypers or, you know, these deficits, and I get that pump, I just feel, it's almost like euphoric almost. It is also, I feel tired, you know, don't get me wrong, like just picking up my kid off the floor, it's kind of hard, you know, because the lower back's spent. But I'm kind of surprised that I didn't feel any hamstrings. Like I don't feel any hamstrings. It's just all lower back, which probably is going to help me with my deadlift. The lower back is not supposed to be a prime mover in the deadlift, but it needs to be strong and it needs to kind of resist that flexion. And so if you develop strength in it, you're going to basically transfer more of that force into the bar. I often talk about the shoulders, how it's like a loose, if your lats are really weak, they're going to roll forward. Your shoulders are going to roll forward and you're going to bleed a lot of power that you develop through the hip extension, through the hip girdle. Same thing with the lower back. Out of all the points, I guess the lower back is the weakest one. At least the shoulder girdle has that, ribs around it, the scapulars, bone hanging out, the humerus, there's all sorts of stuff going on. It's kind of like a rigid structure. The lower back, there's nothing around it. It's just soft tissue, right? There's a lot of core musculature around it trying to stabilize. So if you can, strengthen that part of your body, you're going to be doing good. So, it's the first day after the deficits yesterday. So probably I'm going to be sore tomorrow as well. So what does that mean for tomorrow's workout? Well, I don't know. I'll come in and I'll see what I can do. Hopefully I can do some deficits. I'll try and get to the gym tomorrow. And I'm in two minds about what I'm going to do tomorrow at the gym. Do I go on one plate? I'll just put like a 20 kilo plate on the floor for my deficit. Or do I do 2 plates? Because the gym has that whippy freaking soft bar. If I just stand on one plate, I don't think I'm doing myself justice. It's basically, if I stand on one plate at the gym, it's maybe I'm wrong here. If I stand on one plate at the gym, it's kind of like going home and deadlifting with the stiff bar off the flat floor. So I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. This is the other thing. Like I don't have to just continuously stick to one deficit. I can mix it up a little bit. Obviously, I don't want to go too far. I don't know. I guess even if I did 3 plates, maybe like with deficit, maybe that will bring the hip flexor trouble in. But it's almost like I'm expecting the hip flexor trouble to come back again if I continue with this volume. And when it does, I'm going to attack it head on. Hip flexor work, marching. I'll do all sorts of hip flexor stuff, hanging leg raises, that kind of stuff. A lot of you guys have said that as well. That will work. So training the hell out of the lower back, the hip hinge muscles. Today also I did a whole bunch of pull-ups. I feel like I can get through these 100 pull-ups quite easy. So 10, 9, 8, 7. I did that 2 runs in 2 separate parts of the session. I think it's a really easy way to get volume in doing it that way. Hit a set of 10, hit a set of 9, hit a set of 8, blah, 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 blah. And then do something else like what I did front squatting and Olympic weightlifting. That took maybe 40 minutes or something like that. And then by the time I finished all of that, my lats, the pump, everything was gone. I was able to hit again another set of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way to 1. So I feel like it's easy to kind of break up the volume, intra-session and just cheat your way into more volume that way. Because like I always say to you guys, it's the pump. The pump limits us. The pump kind of makes you feel like I'm done. I can't even do a single rep. But if you take a 30, 45-minute break, do something else, like another part of your body, or you just literally sit on the bench there, do nothing, I reckon you'll find that if you come back, you'll be able to do 90% of the effort that you did earlier. Probably even 100, who knows? Depends on the body part. So if all of us stop at the pump. Don't stop at the pump, man. Let it wash away and then hit it again. In fact, I reckon right now, right now it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know, 5 hours after the session, something like that, 6 hours after the session. I reckon if I went in now into my garage, I reckon I could do another set of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. It's just, you can. The pump does some weird stuff to us, limits that blood flow, which limits restricts that glucose, the electrolytes, all that stuff that we really need for effective muscle function. This is something that Grease in the Groove taught me. Pavel Tsatsouline taught me that you're not really done. And as natural athletes, maybe we need to do this sort of stuff. Have a higher frequency, even more than 7 days. I mean, some of these movements that can, we can tolerate a lot of this stuff. Like for me, pull-ups, man, I could do it again. I swear to God, I can do it again. Yeah, I'll be sore tomorrow, whatever. But the next day I'll be good again. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those movements that's just you can abuse. And, we can start talking about the recovery periods, windows, protein synthesis, all this sort of stuff. We can pull up research and all whatever. I reckon you can work it out yourself, man. Right? You can manipulate some of these yourself. You don't need quantitative data to tell you whether you're recovered or not. So right now I did a whole bunch of stuff, right? Wait tomorrow, come back on the other day, in 2 days' time, do a set of 10. If I can do a set of 10, I'm recovered. If I can't, I'm not. It's simple as that. You don't need freaking scientists in white coat labs, in white coat, lab coats, whatever they're called. You don't need them to tell you double-blind controlled trial, oh yeah, you're recovered. Man, screw that, man. Like, this is not rocket science. We're not going to the freaking moon, man. Just wait a day or two, come back, hit it. If you can't hit it, if you're still restricted, by the performance that you're putting out, maybe you're not recovered enough. Or maybe the following session you do, cut down that volume a little bit more so you can recover. You can do it every other day. That's how simple it is to me. It's kind of like the Olympic weightlifting stuff. So much information in my head. Oh my God, everything's just in my head. I can't process all this stuff. Screw it. Forget everything. I need to get this bar from the floor into the overhead position. Let's go. And if you keep doing that, eventually you're going to work out the groove. And then maybe like after hundreds and hundreds of these reps and weeks and months, you can be like, okay, today I'm going to focus on hip contact and work on that. And that's it. That's all you're thinking about. But if you just cram everything in, if you read like 50 encyclopedias and you're like, okay, let's do it, it's not going to work. It's too much stuff in your head. Anyway, that's it from me, guys, tonight. Appreciate all of you guys and all of the lists. Patreon, YouTube, and Instagram. Appreciate all of you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.